Hi, and welcome to another video of the Target Individual Program, the Target Individual Experience. So it's been a while since I've done a video in this format, right? In which, again, I talk about my target and also show you videos. I've been doing these quick upload on YouTube as things was happening because, it's been heavily targeted. When I go by Pam, she's heavily targeting me. And so I leave. So I really don't have the time to sit down and do type of videos like this. In particular, now they're back on. When I call her or when she calls me afterwards, I hear the constant police sirens, and not ambulances or fire trucks, but police sirens all through the night. And also, like I said, immediately, almost immediately after she calls me and we hang up, I call her and hang up. Even when she texts and we text back and forth, police sirens afterwards, right? And now, again, doing the palm fixation drill, and I had confronted her about it, and she was doing it, but very subtly now, right? Then she changed it up. So, again, this is I'm gonna explain to you how they switch once you confront them, how they'll switch to something else, right? So now, so for the past couple times that I've been here, after I confronted her about the palm fixation drill, like I said, when I was helping her with her fake leather pants, putting it on and stuff like that, she kept putting her hands behind her back with her palm facing towards me, and then she takes her thumb, put it inside of her pants with her palm sticking out towards me as she walks off, right? So after I confronted her on that, I left and I came out the next day, and then she started doing this, oh, my back hurts, but instead of grabbing her back with her hands, she places her back, she places her hand, the back of her hand, against her back, what she would normally do with the palm fixation. And every time she says that, she would do that action. So I guess to try to stop me from confronting her with the palm fixation drill, she's trying to do, again, what is called neurolinguistic programming, whereas, yeah, and the power of association. So now every time she says to me her back hurts, the visual of her placing her hands behind her back with her palm outwards plays out in my mind. So this is one way. When after you confront them with certain things, they try to condition you another way, because again, they don't want you confronting them. So now they find a new way to condition you, right? Using neurolinguistic programming, power of association, to instill those anchors and triggers, right? So on top of that, I started noticing the same type of behavior with her, and I just found something out again, which confirms to me, again, that she really doesn't really care. Even after we first met and I told her what was happening to me, she ignored me. She didn't pay attention to what I was saying. She would target me. I would leave, right? I would confront her and leave, and she would get upset. And she said because of that, she ended up cheating, right? And I'm like, that shit don't make no sense, But anyway, that's her explanation. But I was willing to forgive her and try to work things out. But like I've explained to her neurolinguistic programming in this program, how it works, how they use the boyfriend destroyer theme, and I've told her all these things, and she just ignored me and then told me she didn't believe me. Now all of a sudden she believes me. I mean, so what's happening? And she's still talking to me. So there's something going on, right? So anyway, I'm still willing to overlook all those things, because I firmly believe that this is one of the tactics they use to separate black men and black women, and also to destroy the black family. All right, and I'm trying to hold this together while they're pulling it apart. And it's me, right? It's nothing I can do. So it's gonna play out in a negative way, as with most relationship between black men and women. And so it is nothing new. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, All right. So, you know, this is all, again, all part of the Coercive Persuasion Program, and to hide the non-consensual, illegal human experimentation done by the U.S. government security agencies, along with law enforcement and local and state police department, who acts as um, the local, state, and local, the state and local police department, who acts as intimidators and overseers, and that uses the threat of arrest, institutionalized into mental institution as a threat in order for you to comply. And if you don't comply, they'll call you crazy for trying to expose what it is that they're doing, while they seek to destroy your life, your financial means, your support, right? Your emotional support, financial support, and stuff like that. And so, like I said, I'm going back to school, and for about 2 weeks, they stopped hitting me with the directed energy weapons, and my memory started to improve. I started to remember things, and then all of a sudden now they're back to hitting me with, directed energy, remote neural monitoring every single day. And so now my memory now has, gotten worse again, because now I can't remember anything. Now I can't focus. I want to study, but I can't study because I can't focus on anything. So this is my current situation right now in terms of psychologically how this stuff has affected me. Okay, and how they're using, again, students within my classes and the professors to target me. Okay, so, but before I go on, here is a interview on YouTube of Dr. Peter Breggin, who was being interviewed, and along, also you look up Dr. Colin Ross, who's done extensive research on government mind control program. And so this is the first time I've heard Dr. Peter Breggin talks about this stuff, right? Normally I watch this video to help me deal with what's being done to me, the psychological harassment, the psyops, psychological operations, psychological warfare, and to help me understand the minds of these people, and also to help me understand my mind and what I'm going through and what I'm dealing with while being in this program, and how it affects me, how it affects my relationship with other people, relationship with my kids. Even though I try very hard to not make it let me have a negative relationship with my children, right? But in terms of their mother, in terms of other family members, the relationships are toxic because of what's being done, and whether they know about what's being done or not, something that's up in the air. But I do know that they tend to ignore, what it is that I tell them, right? So they don't want to hear it, right? Oh, it's all in your mind, such and such. They don't want to hear it, and which is a shame, and makes me think that the reason why a lot of black men and black women have a lot of these mental issues and being diagnosed with mental illnesses is not just because of systematic racism that has a negative impact on our life and our psychological state, but also religion, and how they are using the religious community to engage in this sort of behavior, and to engage using the technology, right, such as silent sound spectrum, which is called the voice of God, and other things, surveillance of targeted individual within the community. And you could be targeted for whatever reason, and it could be no reason at all. Okay, just to let you guys know that. So I want to play this clip. I'm gonna play a couple of clips, but this one is very interesting. Okay, so when we tell people that, hey, the government is experimenting on me or had experimented on me with these technologies, people tend not to believe, right? Even though the truth is out there. So why aren't people believing us? And that's the question that every TI needs to ask themselves. Okay? Why is it that when we tell people this, when there's a treasure trove of information, documented information, proven that the government and institutions, right, medical institutions, psychiatric institutions, have been experimenting on people, not just adults, but children. And when it comes to the mind control and the behavior, or what they call behavior modification now, see, they sanitize the name, right? It's no longer mind control and brainwashing. It's called behavior modification. So they sanitize the name. And you see in the hospitals, the behavior modification center, right? They sanitize the name, okay? And so when I talk about being implanted with a microchip for the purpose of remote neural monitoring, I know what I'm talking about, okay? I'm going to give you an example, and they do this a lot, all right? So let's say there's an attractive young lady that, may live in my neighborhood, or if I'm work at the same job as me, what have you, or maybe, one of these students in my school, and, let's say I had a dream about it. It's a sexual dream, or I'm masturbating and I'm thinking about this person. When I go to work, my coworkers will look at me. Well, first thing that they'll do is that individual, female, would all of a sudden start to be around me, right? The entire day, I will see that coworker multiple times, more so than usual. Then on top of that, as that coworker is around me, the other coworkers will look at her, and then they'll look at me, and they'll do it every single time, and it's very obvious, right, to me, because they'll look at her, and then they'll look at me, and then they'll pinch their nose, okay, or they'll stick their finger in their ears, right? That is because of the microchip and the remote neural monitoring. This is what they do, okay? And so again, I'm speaking and talking about this because I want people to realize what's happening and what's being done. Okay? So I'm not embarrassed by it. I mean, as a man and, woman, when they see attractive men and women, yeah, they may fantasize. If they're masturbating, they're thinking about, other women. And normally, I don't really, when I do that, I don't really think about anybody except for the person I'm with, at the time. Not at the time, but prior to that, when I wasn't involved in a relationship. But when I'm involved in a relationship, I usually think of that person that I'm involved with, right? So for the past couple of years, it's Pam. Sometimes if I'm watching maybe a porno movie, I'll think about the porn star, what have you. But that's, that's a normal thing, right? But the majority of the time, it's the person that I'm with. So again, they can't use shame and guilt to use as a tool to try to control me, because it's not going to work. Okay, my job now is to expose every single thing that they're doing. Okay, so Dr. Bragan, as he talks about, these experiments, they were sticking electrodes into the brains of little children. They were burning holes into the brains of little children. So what do you think happened with these directed energy weapons now, with these microchips that send and receive microwave signals, right? Whenever I get these headaches, these IPIX headaches, these gaps in memory, these memory losses, sudden memory losses when I'm being heavily targeted with these type of weapons, okay? What do you think will happen? Probably the exact same thing, right? And so that's why when I'm being targeted heavily, I can't remember anything. I don't have any focus, okay? And then on top of that, within the college atmosphere in the classrooms, I have a lab for one of the classes, and we were supposed to be going over the homework from the lecture class, and the professor is going over the homework from a class from a lesson that we haven't even got to yet. Even after I told them, I said, "Hey, we haven't gotten to this yet in the lecture," and he was like, "Oh, it doesn't matter." But the funny thing is that because school, we didn't have school on Wednesday. This is the 14th, so we didn't have school on Wednesday the 12th, right? And that makes me think, because the professors were like, "Well, there's no school on Wednesday," and so how was it that one of the students that was who was in my lecture class also was in the lab, because it's the same students, right, from the lecture and the lab. So in the classroom, when the professor was going over it, she got the answer wrong, right? Now she rounded up the number too high to where it was wrong, and the professor was like, "Oh, well, she's right." No, she's not. She's wrong. But if I did that, I'm wrong. For example, in my math class, my algebra class, one student went up. She did the problem. The process was correct, but the answer was wrong. So the professor corrected and gave her credit. I went up, did the same thing now, except that, mine was even more closer, except that I forgot to multiply one of the numbers, but the answers were still correct, right? Whereas her answer was wrong. So after class, I went up to the professor. I said, "Am I going to get credit?" And she goes, "No. Let's see you solve another problem. Then I'll think about giving you credit." Right? And this is from my math 1275 algebra class. Okay? So this is the shit that they do, right? So anyway, this is unbelievable. But Dr. Bergen, who I advise you guys to watch this video. Okay? Watch this video, please, for you guys to understand what's going on. And I'm going to play another clip, which I think is vital, particularly in my situation. Right? It's all vital in all of our situation, but I want you guys, particularly if you are a black targeted individual, I want you to listen to this. Okay, so I'm going to pause this here because I want to talk about what he just said, right? About passivity, obedience is key. And this is how they have us as African Americans, black people in this country behaving, right? And so, again, with the development of these technologies, the development of microwave weapons that operate on the same brainwave frequency as human beings, they're able to broadcast these signals to make people become passive. So, besides dumping the pharmaceutical in the water, right, again, to make us passive and docile, the use of these directed energy weapons like silent sound spread spectrum, or what they call the voice of God, being able to manipulate people in a certain way. And they have developed the algorithms and the programs in which these algorithms will run. And depending on the intended target, when they broadcast these signals on a wide area, that people behave in a certain way towards that individual. And again, that individual is implanted with a microchip, right? And I'll show you guys because it's really amazing and terrifying at the same time. Amazing meaning that the fact that no one wants to believe us, and the fact that we as targeted individual can see through the programming Those of us who have studied this for well over a decade, going on 2 decades, understanding what's being done. We've done the research, the type of research that people just don't want to do. You just look at the surface and don't look beneath the surface. They don't question anything. They take everything that the government tell us, the police tell us, at their word, when we know and we see that they're lying. They have a history of lying. They have a history of cover up. They have a history of saying, oh, we don't do this. And then when they get caught, they're saying, well, yeah, we did it, but it wasn't that serious. Or, we're not really spying. We're not really recording conversation. We're just taking the metadata, blah, 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 blah. We've all heard it and seen it before. So why do we continue to believe them? Okay? So let me play the clip. Finish playing the clip. Okay. The reason why I paused this video, because as you can see on my screen, that for some reason, let me see if I can do this. Okay, let me close this one. Okay, that's probably what it was. All right. Okay, that was just weird. All right, let me continue the video. Again, I'm trying not to, because I'm being attacked so heavily. Okay, so you can imagine, right, the psychological warfare, psychological operation that have been waged on black people, particularly black men in the 70s after the civil rights movement, right, with the destruction of the Black Panther movement from within the organization by those within the FBI and local and state police department, as well as the CIA. Don't think the CIA was not involved in it, okay? And yet today we have black people talking about, the Black Panther as, oh, we had some people in the 70s who wanted to cause trouble. They did not want to cause trouble. If you know the history of the Black Panther movement, and again, these people, what I call Negropeans, because they believe the media, they believe the FBI and the police, reports or whatever it is that they've been told about the Black Panther movement, Black Panther Party. They believe that stuff, but we all know from documented evidence exactly what the FBI, the state and local police office, police department had done to the organization, right? To the party. And the fact that the Black Panther was all about uplifting black people, protecting black people, feeding black people, educated black people, particularly with children, particularly with the elderly. They don't talk about that, right? Let's talk about Fred Hampton, okay, who, again, was documented that the police paid someone to say he had this and, was planning, to attack the police, what have you. And, they busted into his apartment and shot him while he was sleeping in bed. Before they opened up the door, they started shooting. So come on. Okay? So a lot of these individuals and people going forward, when I think about this stuff, I think about Dr. Khalid Muhammad, okay, in the 90s. And he died from brain aneurysm. He probably had, electrode implanted in his brain and didn't even know it. Okay? We can't believe these people, man. You hear that? And the government gave them the money. Okay, so you hear what he says about them doing the stuff that can see through a building, and this is exactly what I talk about, right? This is exactly what I talk about when I talk about how that I will be in the house and I will pick up, like, let's say a metal fork, a metal knife, a metal spoon, and then the police would sit outside, and every time I touch something that's metal, I would hear whoop whoop, whoop whoop, right? Or if I go to the bathroom to take a piss, I would hear whoop whoop, whoop whoop. So again, I've been documenting this stuff for well over a decade now, okay, about this sort of things that's happening to me. So when I watch this, this interview, right, it kind of hit home for me, right? Because not also is he talking about these experiments being done, but here he's talking about, and this was in the 70s, right, that these people were developing technology that can see through walls, that can knock down walls, right? Particularly, he said, in urban areas. And who do you think the majority of people that live in urban areas are? And when he says these were black leaders who was the only hope for black people who were fighting for them, okay, this is what was being done to them. And you guys want to call people like me crazy. No, I never thought in a million years this would happen to me. Okay? They started targeting my brother first. And it's interesting because I remember in the 90s when he was working with these two ladies to create this black high fashion urban magazine, right? I forgot the name. The magazine was going to be called Indigo, right? And he used to come to my job in the afternoon, and I would, do scans when when I did my job and had stuff in the crew to be output in the queue to be output. So he would come in, I would scan stuff for him, what have you. And I remember one night, the night guy was a young Hispanic guy, came in. He was cleaning, what have you. And the next morning, I got called into my boss's office, and he was like, two of them, and they were like over exaggerated. And I said, listen, man, there was my brother. I'm helping him out with this magazine. It was a scan that I had done, and what have you. And they take it as if, like, I was stealing from them, right? Now, the funny thing is, right, these two guys, okay, wasn't even paying me, right, the money that I deserve, that I should have been paid as a night. I was the only person there at night doing the jobs that you had two other people during the day were doing, actually three with me because I work from day till night, including me, right? Yet I was being paid nothing. Okay? Nothing. I would scan, I would do color correction, I would do some slight retouching, I would do proof. I was one person doing the job that four other people would individually do. But me, one person, doing all those jobs. Okay? And when I asked for a raise, there was always an excuse as to why I'm not being given a raise. And that's the printing industry during the 90s. They were very, racist, in fact, in terms of pay to black employees in paying them because, you would pay a scanner operator $45 an hour. You would pay a retoucher somewhere between anywhere from $35 to $50 an hour, right? You would pay, a pre-press technician, $25 to $35 an hour, right? Possibly even more, right? And when they leave, I was basically the night manager, the night pre-press technician, the night retoucher, the night proofer, and the night scanner. Okay? And they were paying me something like, I believe it was like maybe $20 an hour, if I'm not mistaken. Right? So, let me tell you, some of these Hispanic people, particularly from the Caribbean, I think he was either Puerto Rican or Dominican, light skin type, what have you. They will, because they hate you as a black person, they will, I mean, shoot. Yeah, I'm like, why do you tell you guys that? I mean, I see, you guys know my brother, you know what I'm saying? He comes in here all the time, and I was like, okay, so I did a scan for him, so, but anyway, but I guess because I'm a black guy, because I've seen, the other guys during the day do the same thing for their friends, and, no one say anything. And actually, there was three guys during the day, four, including me. It was three other guys, and then I was the fourth one. Okay, so, that goes to tell you something, right? So anyway, yeah, so, we talked about this stuff, and I talk about this. We as target individual talk about this stuff, and no one wants to believe us. But, slowly but surely, the information is coming out, and, you have white professional who are finally coming forward and telling the truth, doing the research to expose exactly what's being done. And this is something that we all know, but we, again, as black people, we have our heads in the cloud with this magical Negro thinking. Sky Daddy's going to save us. Oh, the government don't do this, the government don't do that. Why do we still say these things when we see it in front of our faces? Why do we still say these things when there's documented evidence? Why do we still say these things when people like me and others like me are showing you proof? Okay? Are doing the research to show you this stuff is happening, yet there's silence within our community. And a large portion of our community engage in this psyops against us. Excuse me. Okay? Why is that? You know, I mean, it's kind of frustrating as an individual. Your life is being destroyed. You're being manipulated. You have been manipulated. And when I think back about things in the past, prior to when, actually, after when my brother became a targeted individual, things that was happening to me, like going out to dinner, having a glass of wine, but feeling like, I was drugged, but kind of like, ignoring it because it's like, I'm just like, damn, I only have one glass of wine. Why am I feeling like this? And then, having that memory of that white waiter looking at me with this grin on his face as he poured me a glass of wine, and it wasn't a happy grin, it was more of a sadistical grin. And I started thinking about this stuff. And again, we have to be careful as black people when we eat in these white establishments that they're putting drugs in our drinks to soften up our mind, to be easily controlled. Okay? And, you may call me conspiratorial or what have you, but again, this, the nature of certain types of people, particularly when it comes to their feelings and their view of us as black people. Okay, so, none of this should be as a surprise. So that's why there is this, that's why we as a community don't want to talk about mental illness, okay, because they have us believing, that there is no such thing as mental illness and it's the devil. Well, you know what? It is the devil. And the devil isn't a person that's in hell with a horn breathing fire, okay? It is the white supremacist agenda and the white supremacists. Those are the devils. Okay? I remember I said white supremacists, right? And white supremacist agenda and white supremacist society. I didn't say all white people now, but the majority. And that's the fact. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I don't think all white people are racist. But according to their own people, they all are. The majority, the vast majority of them. Because the vast majority remain silent when black people are being brutalized. And even when they know the truth, they still remain silent. Okay, so I just had to pause the video while I go pick up my kids from school. And so let's continue, right? So again, for me, it's a shame that those within the black community, and the majority of those within the black community, has been participating in these types of psychological harassment. And again, one of the ways in which they do it is through the manipulation through the religious institutions and religious organization, and trying to say they're trying to whether it's a moral issue, it's whatever the case, whatever the excuse that they will use, people will gravitate and follow it hook, line, and sinker because of their religious belief system. And particularly if it's coming from those within the religious communities, the so-called leaders within the religious communities, like the priests, the pastors, the deacons, the deaconess, the priestess, or what have you, right? That, and because a lot of these religious institutions and organizations receive money from the government, so they are beholden to the government. And also they will like to say whether it's a matter of national security, they will give that excuse, or national safety or public safety. It is always some sort of safety type of hidden or excuse to do what they do. And again, we've seen this played out before. So this is nothing new. Okay? And the manipulation, the setups, the frame-ups that's done towards us as black people, particularly black men. And I tell, say this, particularly these black women also, right? That if you have a black son and you're doing this to another black man, your son is going to grow up and guess what? It can be done to him. And if you have a daughter, if you're a black man and you're doing this to a black woman, guess what? Your daughter's going to grow up and the same thing can be done to her, right? Until we realize and understand these manipulative tactics, until we realize and understand the technology that has been created and are developing and are continue to be created for the purpose of mind control. Okay? And I'm not talking about, simple you know, brainwashing type stuff, okay? Which again, I shouldn't say simple because it's not simple. But technologies that are being developed, okay? And this is, there's this doctor in Spain before he got recruited by the CIA, Dr. Jose Delgado, who had experimented in implanting electrodes into the brain of animals and people in order to control their actions and their behavior. Okay? This stuff is not new. But yet we act as if this stuff is impossible because the government has conditioned our mind to think that this stuff is science fiction and it's going to appear in the year, after we all dead and gone, right? The year, 25, 2020, not, yeah. Like 30-25 or something like that, or 50-25. They make it seem like it's so far and so out of reach, right? When it's not. It really isn't. Okay, so don't be tricked and manipulated into believing that stuff. This stuff is happening right now, and if you do your research, you will see that it's already here. A huge portion of those things are already here. Okay. So and again, we talk about the psychological abuse that's going on for us as TIs, the gang stalking and stuff like that. And here we go. There's another article from the New York Times. It's called White Doctors, Black Subjects, Abuse Disguised as Research. Okay, it talks about the Tuskegee syphilis study, also irradiation, right? So it says here, said blacks have been forced to undergo painful, risky experimental surgery dosed with radiation and singled out for experimentation aimed at finding brain abnormalities linked to violence. They have been falsely assumed to feel pain less than whites and to require higher X-ray doses for a readable film, right? Okay, so here we go. Let's talk about this. One of the worst offenders was James Marion Sims, a 19th century surgeon who had been venerated as a selfless benefactor of women for devising ways to repair severe vaginal injury that occur in childbirth. Sims honed his skill by performing scores of painful operations on the genitals of black slaves. Okay? You think we're not in slavery right now? They have us under mental slavery. And they have us because the pharmaceutical companies are dumping pharmaceutical drugs into the water. They have developed mind control technologies using microwave and radio frequencies, and that's the reason why they keep us out of the tech industry. I mean, think about it. A big part of why there's not a lot of black people in the tech industry is because of this stuff that's been going on. And they cannot take the chance of black people learning and developing technology to counter some of this shit, or finding out this stuff was happening and developing technology to counteract this shit. Okay, it's a big part of why we are kept out of the tech industry. Okay. Now I talk about coercive mind control tactics. I suggest you guys read this again. Psychological harassment.com. Okay. Okay, so now let's move on to my favorite part. I know this video is going to be a little long. Maybe I might break it into parts, okay? And just show the videos of how I'm being targeted, the psyops, how they use the silent sound spectrum, the microwave technology to manipulate and to just put ideas into my head of where to go, where not to go, and you'll see certain things. So this video right now is 45 minutes. Maybe I'll make it hour and a half, which is not that bad. But just please bear with me, okay? So let's go to the videos, and I'm going to break it down as we go along. Okay. So one of the things that I've recognized is when they have perps, civilian perpetrators who are just standing in the corner waiting for me to leave my apartment building to walk to the train station in order to target me with these hand signals and stuff like that. And so I like to put them on video just to expose their face, to let people in the community who are aware of what's going on and not a part of it to understand and recognize who these people are. Okay? So I was on my way to school, okay, and you will see what happened. This woman here, my mother and I live on the same block. She lives at the end of the block, and I live in the middle. And remember, I talk about how they will use people, with suitcases and in terms of telling me to leave and all this stuff. So I'm on my way to school. All right, as I'm walking to the end of the block, I see this guy across the street, okay, and he started doing these hand signals. All right, so I took my phone and I started recording as he was crossing the street, okay. All right, so just to get a good look at his face. Okay. If you guys see him in the neighborhood, yeah, he's a perp. He's a police agent, FBI agent, CIA agent, whatever agency is recruited them. Okay. And again, all of this is a lot of stuff happens when I'm going to school. So here that same afternoon, I went to pick up the kids, and being targeted with a heavy noise campaign. And then you'll see them using the homeless theme. Normally I see homeless people, I don't really think anything of it, but one of the things that they like to do in a Coercive Persuasion program is use the homeless theme. And so let me just show you guys exactly what I'm talking about here. And this is one of the tactics, right? The intimidation tactics, right? And this is I would say tactics 7, right? Which is the belief. It says failure to adapt or imply the approved attitude, belief, or consequence behavior will lead to several punishment or dire consequences such as physical or mental illness, the reappearance of a prior physical illness, drug dependence, economic collapse, social failure, divorce, disintegration, failure to find a mate, etc. And one of these things, we talk about social failure and economic collapse is homelessness, right? Which is one of the themes that they play out time and time again. And so, like I said, I know when the homeless theme is played out against me, because again, my targeting would be very, very heavy for that day. So this was on a Friday, okay. And then you'll see the ambulance. Okay, and again, like I said, we're in New York City and Brooklyn. There's ambulance all over the place, but one thing I learned to recognize is the patterns. Okay, for instance, if I'm sleeping, and let's say I get up around, let's say I'm awake, right? So I get up, open my eyes around 6 o'clock, right? Lay in bed for half an hour to an hour. I wouldn't hear any sirens at all. But the minute I get out of bed, within 5 minutes, right, there's a noise campaign, either ambulance, police, or fire truck, right? And this happens every single time. So I can lay in bed. I wouldn't even, it could be the middle of the day. I could be laying, not hear any sirens. The minute I get up, okay, with the sirens and the noise campaign, Okay, so let's get this straight. So for people who say, you know, I hear ambulance all the time, that's fine. I hear ambulance all the time too. Okay, but I recognize the pattern in which I hear ambulance and how, you know, they target me with the noise campaign. And so this is the Saturday now, and I'm going to take the car to the mechanic. And of course, you know, at the end of the block they have the police. All right. So his car his vehicle is parked over here. The police vehicle's over there. He's at the steps of this building, and he's looking at me as I cross the street. Right. Okay. So again, I was just explaining that with the noise campaign last night and stuff like that, and then, you know, wake up this morning this is the Saturday morning to go take the car to the mechanic, and you know, walk to the end of the block. Police vehicles there. The officer is across the street, standing in front of the building. Okay, and you'll see him just standing there. Okay, and he's looking at his phone, and as you'll see here you go. Let's go back a little bit. So this is what the perps do too, right? So you see the car making the U-turn in front of me, and as the car makes the U-turn, he takes his phone out, he looks at it, right? Okay, and then he puts it back in his pocket. And it's a Hispanic police officer too. Now lately they've been using a lot of Hispanic women, Hispanic men in my targeting. Okay. And then you'll see follow up with the white guy with the beard, which is a theme that I've been saying, that there'll always be this one white guy, right, with a beard, either on the bus or from standing at the bus stop. In this case, I'm walking to the car with that all that's being played out. Okay. All right. So what happens, okay? And then he turns, right? So okay. Now watch this. See, he starts putting his hands behind his head like that. It's another hand signal that they'll do. Okay, so now I got in the car. Okay, and I drove off. When I looked behind me, he was gone, and you know, the police vehicle was gone. And of course, again, remember I talk about the number 32 again plays a role here, because lately, constant vehicle with the number 32 in the license plate, which is a number, a theme that they use to play out on me, though it doesn't affect me, but I do realize the frequency in which I see license plate with the number 32 in it. Okay, and particularly when I'm constantly parking in front of cars or pulling out of a parking space right up behind a car, you know, and it happens so frequently. Again, you know, like I said, I start to recognize these things. All right, so clearly he was there waiting for me. It's a intimidation tactic, and this is what they do, right? Now I didn't even mention the vehicle with the number 32 in it, because like I said, I don't pay any attention to that stuff anymore because I see the frequency. But for the purpose of viewing this video, you know, just for the video purpose and me explaining, you know, what's being done. Okay. All right, so let's go. All right, let's go here. Okay, where is it? Right. Okay. I can't remember what I was saying, but I didn't watch the entire video. I was talking about, how black men and women have this higher affirmity for white men and women, because we don't see ourselves as our own savior. We see them as our savior because of the religious indoctrination of Christianity and this white image of Jesus, our God. Okay? And same thing when it comes to Islam. You have an Arab image of Allah and this Prophet Muhammad. So we don't see ourselves as our own savior in both of these religions. We see others as our savior, when in fact they have been our enslavers. Okay? So let's go back here, because I think this dude I just want to okay. Normally they have their perps in the corner or walking on the side of the corner, doing these hand signals. All right, so okay, so you see this vehicle right here? So you have this police vehicle turn in front of me, and again, I start to see a heavy police presence. So, this again, the same morning that the police car was parked up across the street with the police officer across the other side, looking at me and doing these hand signals and all this stuff, right? So they're going to turn, and then what they're going to do is that they're going to make a U-turn and start following me. Okay? And I'm going to show that coming up on the next video, because I noticed them. I think it was after this light that I noticed them driving up behind me. Okay? Okay, so same police vehicle now made a U-turn. Okay, I had to adjust the video a little bit so you can see that it is the police. That's here they are. Yeah, that's the vehicle behind me. There you go. And that's exactly what happened. Okay, so you'll see another video now where again, so here I am. I was driving to the highway because I had to drive the car on the highway, and then so this police vehicle was across the street. The light was red, and he was just sitting at the light, just out sitting at the light. Okay, and at that point I decided that I was going to record. So when I reached up to hit the record button on the phone, there was two police officers in there. They ran the red light. Now mind you, they were sitting at the light. Okay, but the minute they saw me hit that, reach up to get the they ran the light. Yes, like I said, I was saying that so you know that they know exactly what it is that they're doing, and so again, but this is again a tactics that they use. Okay, so again, here I am on the highway. Okay, and let's see, what exit did I get off of? I was trying to get off of Okay, so I was going to get off at exit 21 before this exit here, but for some reason, I think it was exit 19, exit 20, I think, because that's what I was told the exit to get off at. But for some reason, I didn't get off of that exit, right? I didn't know exactly why I didn't get off of the exit I was told to get off of, but I ended up driving past that exit. Okay, and you'll see here to the left, you'll see, excuse me, a police vehicle. This is the on ramp onto the highway, and they were, there was a vehicle that they had stopped. And again, this is the technology. When I talk about silent sound spread spectrum, which is called the voice of God, which is the microwaving of sounds, words into your mind, but you're not hearing another person's voice, you're hearing your own internal voice, right? So, for example, you may be driving, and if they want you to exit at a certain exit, the exit that you previously want to exit at, would no longer remain relevant in your mind, and you would think about getting off at the other exit, right? And again, this is how this technology works. So you'll see, as I'm about to enter the off ramp, police officers. Now I want you to look at the synchronization. So they see me because they had turned to see me come in. They see me, and both of them at the exact same time turned. There's synchronization here, so you know it's a technology. They both turned, opened their door at the exact same time, right? And got in. Okay? Look at that. Right? Okay? So showing you the synchronization that takes place and how I was made to not take the exit that I was told to exit and turn back, but I think I got off at exit 21. That's what it was, because I had to go around. Okay? And so, again, and you see here as I'm, this is the beginning of the video, but you see the number 32 in the license plate again, because there was, a lot of vehicles that Saturday morning, they were bombarding me with vehicles with the number 32 in the license plate. Okay? Because again, since I'm not reacting to it the way that they had hoped, they have to do bombardment, right? Which is the continuing of, the bombardment of that trigger. Okay? So, this is what they do. So I'm on my way back from the highway, and I'm going over the PAMs to, just rest before I go home. And, so as I'm driving, I'm driving behind this vehicle. And again, you see the number 32 in the license plate, right? It's from Alabama. And I get a phone call. Okay, let me see. Shoot, where's my phone? Okay, excuse me, I'll be right back, guys. Okay, sorry. Okay, so I wanted to okay, so I'm trying to find that number. Okay, let me view it. I want to view it so I can show you guys. Okay. Okay. All right. So I was looking for something so I can block out the screen because I want you guys to see exactly what I'm talking about, but I didn't want the other numbers to show. Okay. So just to show you guys that I'm not making this up. Okay. All right. So let's look at this number. All right, maybe it might not show because of the. All right, let's see here. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see it. You guys might have to zoom in. Let me try to. Let's turn it this way, and let's try to adjust. There we go. Let's try to adjust the screen. I want to show it to where I'm not the screen is not so blacked out or what have you. Okay. All right. So I don't know if you guys can see it. All right. All right. There we go. Can you see it? Can you guys see it? There we go. Alabama. Okay. Just so you guys don't think that I'm making. Just so you guys think that I'm making this up. I'm not. This is, something that they do. All right. And again, we as TIs, we go through this all the time. So, this is what I call evidence-based, right? To let you guys know that, hey, I'm not making this up. This stuff is really happening. All right, and the best way for me to expose these things is to, document it, because else no one's gonna believe me. All right, if I just talk about it, people are gonna be like, "All right, you sound like he's crazy." Shit, he heard Nigel? You sound like he's crazy. But again, we all know again that a lot of our people have been experimented on. That's why we have such a high rate of so-called, and I say so-called because it's not really mental illness. It is an orchestrated, it is a psychological operation being engaged within the black community and against black people, against each other, that, that's what's going on. Okay, so that's why there's such a high rate of people say, the large part of the black community, particularly black men, right, are mentally ill. I want you guys to understand this. Okay, you can call me whatever you want, but that's okay. You can, keep your eyes up in the sky, praying to your sky daddy, worshiping your sky daddy, and not understanding of the war that's going on. And you thinking it's just spiritual war and all this stuff. It's not spiritual war. It's a war to control the minds of black people, to subjugate us again, right? To keep us docile, to keep us obedient, right? From discovering our true, identity of who we really are, what kind of people we really are. It is not to say we're better than any other person or group of people, but we know that we play a very important role in history. We know that we play a very important role in the development and the creation of mankind. And believe me, Christians and you black Muslims, you black Christians and black Muslims, it has nothing to do with that Bible you're reading. Okay? And again, do some research. All right? So watch what's going to happen here. All right? See the guy on the right, he's wearing a hat, a light tan color hat. So you see how he pinches his nose, right? So again, I talked about this. I've shown you plenty of videos that, you know, this is what they do. This is part of their psyops. Okay. Okay. So let's move on to the next video. Actually, not that one. I'm sorry. Okay, here we go. All right. So now this is the Monday, right? The Monday I'm going to school. Was it the Thursday? I'm sorry, it might be the Thursday, not the Monday, the Thursday. So get to the bus stop to go to school, and of course, here's a cab that's parked in the street. Again, you see the number 32 in the license plate, right? Apparently, he hit this old man who he claimed the old man ran across the street. Now, this is an old man. You know, I don't know if the, you know, if the old man was so fast that he didn't see him and he didn't stop, but he did. He saw him. Right, and I was talking about how the paramedic showed up with the license plate 932 in the license plate. Okay. Now watch the woman standing here, and she does the index finger. And again, I explained to you guys the significance of that, right? These are people who are working with the police. They're agents of the police, and this is the hand signal that they do. And Pam has done this to me plenty of times, particularly when she's angry with me. She starts doing this stuff. Okay, so now, so instead of calling for an ambulance, right, the fire truck shows up. Now, you know, you guys are always hearing noise campaigns with the ambulances and stuff like that. What happened to the ambulance? You know, they called the fire truck, the paramedics came, right? No ambulance now. And there's a reason for that. So now he comes over there like he's some damn inspector, you know. Okay, so let's, and that's me telling him that, bro, you know, you gotta slow down. Now watch that cop. Let me do this, because I need to get this cop, because again, when we talk about the Hispanic police, right, that they've been using lately to target me, right? So you'll see, guess who's gonna come, right? Okay. So no matter what his excuse is, the fact is that he didn't stop and he hit the man, and an old man on top of that. Okay. And so, see how he pinches his nose? Okay, now I want you guys to see, because he's gonna come and I think he's gonna stand up next to me right here. All right. How was it beforehand? Let me get to that section where he was standing on the side of me. Again, how these theme, and I missed it too because, he did this hand signal. Watch, right? And then as he's again, he's going to be pointing towards me, but he's trying to mask it, right? So as he swings his arm over again, then he walks past, looks directly at me. Okay. And again, all this shit could be orchestrated. You know what I'm saying? Because knowing how these people operate, they'll do shit like this. Okay, it's civilians, the police, fire department, paramedics. They're all involved in this shit. Okay, and y'all may think I'm crazy, but you see, again, he pinched his nose, and I've talked about this stuff, right? See the guy at the corner doing the same thing. All right. So I end up, getting to class late because of this shit. And actually, this was in the morning. This was actually in the morning, so it wasn't in the evening. This was in the early morning. Because I remember getting to my class late and telling my professor that there was an accident. That's why I was late. So here I am on the bus. Okay, here I am on the bus, and I got on the bus. I sat down, and this young lady now, she was sitting in the back of the bus. I sat down. She came, and she sat right across from me. And at that point, I started recording. Now look at her hands, her fingers. Okay? See, she does the folded lips. Okay? Now watch how she tries to mask the target. I'm going to explain it. Okay? So what she's doing, you see there's the 3 finger. I mean, 4 fingers. Okay? Watch. Now watch that she's going to try to do the middle finger. Now you see how the middle finger is sticking out here? This is how they mask it. Now watch. The pinky finger. Then it goes back to the middle finger. Then it goes back to the middle finger again. Okay? Now watch. Again. Now she's taking her thumb and touching her middle finger. Okay? Now watch. Now look at the subliminal threats now, right? Okay, so let me just go back here. I need to pause it properly. So you see she'll stand up, point the index finger, then the middle finger. So again, and with the red theme, her red jacket, it's always the red theme that they play. And it's amazing, quite amazing that, particularly black people will participate in this stuff, knowing the history of these police officers and this government and what it is they've done to us and continue to do to us, and somehow think that, that they're not, involved in this shit, like they're not, in terms of the villainization of black men like myself, right? Come on. Are we that stupid as a people? Are we that dumb as a people? And so, this was on Wednesday. I went to school Wednesday. Not Wednesday, Tuesday, because I didn't have any class. So that video prior with the girl on the bus and the accident, that was on Monday. This was Tuesday. I didn't have any class. So I had to go speak to the president of the college because a lot of shit has happened to me in that school. For example, like I said, when I went to drop my calculus class, prior to dropping it, I said, okay, am I going to have 12 credits? And again, I should have checked myself. But when you're being heavily targeted, sometimes, your mind is not always in the right space, And they know this, so they'll take advantage of this, okay? And that affected my financial aid, to which I end up owing the school money. Always trying to put you in a financial hole, this is what they do. So I'm sitting down waiting for the president. This student walks in, he sits across from me, and all of a sudden he starts doing these hand signals. Then he takes out his phone, and at that point I took out my phone to record him, but he gets up and he leaves. and you'll just see a quick shot of him walking by. Okay, you see that dark figure? That's him, and he leaves. Okay, never came back. Now, never came back, and I wish I should have recorded him earlier, so I can show his face. Okay, but this is what they do, and that was, how the only shot I get of filming him. But again, he had already walked away, and so anyway, so now I have to go to speak to the dean of my department, and I'm walking over to the Voorhees building, and again, like I said, what they've been doing lately, especially with the police vehicles, they've been driving really fast, and when they see me, they'll turn on their sirens so that I won't have enough time to take up my phone and record them. And so at this point right now, you'll see I only, able to film him as he drove by. Okay. Yeah, they like to use the word gotcha, especially the students when they're talking to me. So I started using the word got them. Okay, because I'm exposing them. Okay, I'm not gonna get into this too much. As you'll see her, as soon as I got close, she started doing the hand signal, moving her hands. You see the student behind her sticking his finger in his ears. Okay, watch it. Watch. So you'll see, there he goes. And using a lot of the Hispanic students in my targeting. It's amazing how they can get other ethnicity to join in and targeting me. And so the video at that point had ended, and I got to the steps of the Voorhees building. And so now you'll see the true devils, the one who's orchestrated all of this. And I'm talking about white men, egotistical, maniacal, maniacs, racists. And so he's standing at the top of the stairs doing these hand signals. Because actually he came out from behind that, you see that frosted glass? He came out from behind there and started targeting me. So I stood there and I said, okay, I want to see if he's going to run away when I start recording his ass. And I'm going to let it play out. Now watch him. Okay? You see? I want you to see this. Okay, the hand signal. Okay, do the 4 fingers. Okay. He, takes his glasses off and he walks away. Okay, so let's do a free shot of Mr. Perp here. And you hear the sirens in the background. Okay. All right. Now again, if you guys watch that Leah Remini series on Scientology, is the same thing these people are doing to me, except that they're, working for, law enforcement, FBI, CIA, and just because I call these agencies out, don't think I'm a conspiracy theorist. Because if you look at the history and you do the research, you'll know who's behind all this stuff, and particularly the also government agencies such as the Health and Human Services Department, government state psychiatry run institutions. Okay, and so there's insurmountable evidence. Okay, and so here I am now. Again, this is still Tuesday. I went back home after speaking to the dean of my department, and I got on my block. And of course, they had the street there to set up. Now again, you'll see a guy riding a bike. Okay, you'll see the guy with his hood over his head, and they love to look at the license plates of vehicles. Because I remember I tell you guys that I was robbed, in the early 2000s, 2000 and I think it was in December of 2001. And so then 2002, on my way to work, it was a white police officer standing on one of the buildings, and he saw me. This was during the summer, spring, summer, and he took out a license plate. Not a license plate, a license in his hand, and he cuffed it in his hand and flashed it towards me so I can see. And again, it's an intimidation tactic, and I had my wallet stolen that night. So sometimes the police officers will take out their wallet in front of me. Again, this is all orchestrated to show you that they are the one that set me up to be robbed. Okay, and this is the type of things that these people will do. COINTELPRO all over again. The program never ended. It just advanced, also with the use of these technologies that they have been developing. And also the psyops and the psychological operation warfare, villainization, to get people in your community to turn against you because of setups, frame-ups, that you had no idea what was going on. You had no idea this was happening to you. And then when you realize it, you start to expose it, then they go full force and try to villainize you in the worst way. Okay? So you see the guy riding a bike. You see he does this. How many times have I showed a video where you have these civilian perpetrators doing this as they walk past me? Either they're driving or on a bicycle, they'll do it. Okay? And so you'll see the fire truck. And again, the synchronization, right? As I'm walking towards my apartment building, this was happening. The fire trucks. Right. Again, this is all, tactics and method that they use due to how you are psychologically conditioned. Okay. So in this video, let's see here. I think it was the same day. Yeah, this was in the night. I'm going by Pam. And then they'll look at me and take their phone out of their pockets and put it back in. It's how they spread their rumors, right? To try to prevent you from using your phone, to try to make you paranoid. And then you have these people standing in front of Pam's building. And of course, you got one guy in red. And you'll see that he takes his hands and he palms his face. Okay, now I can't pause it because it's not going to show good. But let me see if I can pause it maybe just slightly, a little bit. See how he looks at me? Right? Turns, looks at me, and right there he palms his face. But like I said, you can't really see it because when I pause it, it doesn't give you a nice clear shot. Okay, and so again, these are things that they do. And let's see here now, the next video. I'm walking with the kids, pick them up from school, and again, you'll see the red theme here plays out. And you'll see a young teenager comes out. He's looking at my kids. See his eyes goes down, looking at my kids, putting his hand on his lip. All right, and you'll see, he's staring at my face. Okay, that's what he's doing. And then you'll see teenager in the middle, folding his lips, doing this. Okay. Now I want you to look at their faces. Okay, because their facial expression gives them up. And you'll see one coming around the corner. Again, doing the same thing, touching his lip. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, hold up a sec. Okay, and now you'll see her comes now, and you'll see she sticks her tongue out at me. See her tongue right there? Okay, and then she does this. Okay, so like I said, the only way I can, show you guys is to record it and put it out there. The only how you're gonna learn what's being done to you is that if you recognize it, and if you and again, you'll see the lonely white guy right, with the beard, right, the lonely white guy, the only single white guy. Again, the theme keeps playing out over and over again. Okay, but I'm being heavily targeted with the beard. Okay, this is what they do. All right, now I missed a video. Let me see if I can find that video. I didn't play a video, and I know I had recorded it. Here we go. So I did miss it. So this is around 6 o'clock in the morning. I went to move the car, and again, you'll see it's all intimidation, so, and you'll see how he walks by me and he don't want to show his face, because of course I have the camera, the phone out recording. So he's bowing his head, as he walks past me, he's hiding his face. He's bowing down as he get closer. All right, so, some of them, yeah, they don't want to show their face because I guess it's because, some of them are really secretive and don't want their face to be shown. Maybe they've been used against other targeted individuals, and so they don't want to show up on video doing the same thing to other people, right? So this is what they've been doing. But anyway, I told my son I was gonna finish this video so he can get on his computer. But again, this is what I have to do to expose. And though, I'm constantly being threatened, constantly being told to be quiet, to shut up, not to say anything, and that's something that I can't do, because when evil persists, and the reason why evil persists is because good people remain silent. Okay, and I will not remain silent while this evil persists. All right, so I'll see you guys in the next video.